Hi everybody! So today I'm going to show you how to make the body, the goggles, and the goggle strap for your Mr. and Mrs. Claus Minions. These are designed by Jess Davies, also known as CraftLover17 on Instagram. So in today's video we're just making this piece, and these are the supplies that you're going to need for this. Your white, gray, yellow, red, black, something for the eyes. I'm using an 18mm googly eye. You can use a safety eye, 12mm, 15mm, you decide. So both of them take the same body, so I have two ready, and then I'll be showing you how to make them later. So I'm going to get started, and I do hope you enjoy. Now we're going to make the goggle, and I'm going to show you how to do one, and then you're going to pause the video and make yourself another. Round one of the goggle, we're going to do 7 single crochets in the magic ring, and I'm using white. So take your first band and wrap it around the bottom peg 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Now bring 7 bands through, one at a time. So your first one, other end on your hook, your band over, bring it to the side. Go back in for your second band to bring through, on your hook, and 2 loops over. Make sure you're bringing it to the side. Go back in for your third band, other end on your hook, 2 loops over. Go back in, and you just want to continue. Go back over. And the last band, you want to attach your stitch marker to the band that's around your hook, and then you can remove off the loom, and you should have 7 stitches. So for round 2 of the goggle, we're going to increase on every stitch. So you're adding 2 bands, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, all the way around. At the end of round 2, you're going to have 14 stitches. So going in our first chain, you're adding 2 bands, one at a time. Back in, that same stitch to add your second band. Now moving on to the next stitch, and you want to add 2 bands. Back in, and moving on to the next stitch with 2 bands. So you just want to continue until you get to the stitch marker. And the last stitch with 2 bands. So again, you should have 14 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 3, the pattern is 6 single crochets followed by an increase. So it's just 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2. You're going to repeat this 2 times. So let's go in our first 6 chains with 1 band. Chain 1 with 1. Chain 2 with 1. Chain 3. Chain 4. Chain 5. Chain 6, and then chain 7. So it's kind of at the top of where your stitch marker is. Chain 7, you're adding 2 bands. Back in. And now you're going to repeat the same thing, 6 single crochets, and where your stitch marker is, you're adding the 2 bands. Next, I'm changing the color to gray. So you should have 16 stitches. Remove that stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 4, we're going to do 16 single crochets and only grabbing the inside loop only. So that means I'm just going to grab the chain facing the center. I'm not going through both. I'm just going to grab the first one. Now in the other Minion tutorials, when I started to change the color on the goggle, I started with a slip stitch. I'm not going to do that this time because you don't really need to. It's inside. You can see the color change right there, but it doesn't give that little bend. So I'm not going to do the little slip stitch. I'm just going to crochet normally. So let's go on our first chain, just grabbing the inside loop only. And I'm going to pull my first band through just the inside loop on my hook and then slide. Moving on to the next, the inside loop only. And then just continuing around. So you're doing 16 single crochets. You're going to do this until you get to your stitch marker. Grabbing the inside loop helps to make that curl to the front. So that's why we're doing this. And don't forget, after round 5, the last round, you want to turn the goggle inside out. And then our last stitch, our last inside loop, you should have 16 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 5, our last round, continuing with the gray, we're just doing 16 single crochets, adding one band, 1, 1, 1, 1, all the way around. Where you start, be careful you don't go in your slip knot, go in your chain and bring your band through. Your last band, you're doing a slip knot to tie it closed, and then we're turning the goggle inside out. Last band, slip knot through all of the loops, grab the end and tie it off. Now you can remove the stitch marker, you don't need it anymore on the goggle, and you want to turn it inside out. Now I'm going to hide this slip knot, and I'm just going to go through the stitches. I'm going to bring it through, just bring it through the stitches. Now for the goggle strap, we're going to do a chain of 33. This is my 34th band, which is going to be a cap band. This band I'm going to wrap around my hook 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. So I have it wrapped around my hook and you see 3 loops. Now what you want to do is bring 33 bands through and make a chain. So you can see this is 10, 20, 30, and 3. I'm going to do part of it with you, and then you're going to pause the video and come back to me when you're done. I don't think I need to do the whole chain. So let's try this out. We're going to bring our first band through and our cap band over. And there's our first chain. So now pause the video and you just want to continue with 23 more stitches. And come back to me when you're done. Now round 2 of the goggle strap. This is what you should have first, your chain. What I'm going to do is making sure that my chain is flat, not twisted. I want to put my hook through that cap band, those 3 little loops. And I'm going to bring my first band through and do a slip stitch. Then I'm going to do 33 more single crochets. So in this round you need a total of 34 bands. So 10, 20, 30, and 4. So let's bring our first band through, all of the loops, grab the end, and slide. Now attach your stitch marker to that band that's around your hook. Now normally we would go around this way. We are going to do the reverse stitch and go this way. So turn it around here and we're going to go in the next stitch over. So not where your band is coming out of. That would be that one. We're going to the next one. So this one on our hook is considered our first stitch. Now you just want to go around. So I'm going through the center and I'm going to bring my band through on my hook and slide. And then the next stitch all the way around, making sure that you're going through the center of the chains, not through the top, not through the back, through the center. And you will stop at the stitch right before your stitch marker. As you're doing this, make sure that you're not twisting it so that it's nice and flat. Excuse me while I move myself. After this, we're going to do the same thing with one more round, and then we'll tie it off. Now I'm going through the cap band here. And I'm back where I started. So I want you to remove your stitch marker and put it on the band that's around your hook. Now for round 3, we're going to do the same thing and we're going in the same direction, reverse, around. We're not going this way, we're going this way. And we're going to put our hook through our chain and just do 34 single crochets around. Your last band, you're doing a slip knot to tie it closed. So here's where I ended, and here is my next chain right beside. So I'm going to go through and bring my band through my chain, on my hook and slide, and the next chain with one band, all the way around. Now I do realize that I'm going fast, but all you're doing is just going in the next chain and bringing your band through. And I'm at the stitch marker, so bring your band through all of the loops and tie it off. Remove your stitch marker and you can put this off to the side. So now we're going to add the eye, and the eye is your choice. Jess, when she created this, she used a 12mm safety eye. I unfortunately don't have any, so I'm going to work with what I have. I have some Google eyes. I have a pony bead. This is bigger than a 7. I'm thinking it's a 9mm pony bead. And I have some googly eyes. I even have a little button here, this round little ball that I found. So whatever you can find. I also just made a magic ring with 5 stitches here of the black, which I'm going to show you to do this just in case you don't have anything else. So I'm going to take this apart, and this is really simple. You're just going to do a magic ring with 5 stitches, and I don't think that I need to show you how to do that one, but what I am going to do is just take this apart right here and undo my slip knot and undo this one and put this back on my hook. So I made a magic ring with 5 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm going to close this off by going in the next stitch with a single black band. I'm pretty sure that this was simple enough to do. So I'm going to bring it through and on my hook and slide. and then close this off here. And I'm just going to hide this little slip knot by going through one of the stitches here and bringing this towards the back. Now I'm going to bring a white band through 2 of these stitches in the back. I can hide this after going out in the back of the goggle. So from either end, making sure that it's even, I'm probably going to go from here to here. I'm going to bring a white band through the stitches at the back. I'm just going to put in the center here and release. Now I'm going to bring this other end through another stitch on the opposite side. So over here. And this is the band that I'm going to use to pull through the back of the goggle. If you're using a safety eye, I cut 2 little holes and put a band through, and I used dental floss to bring it through. It's up to you. I think I'm going to be going with the Google Eye. And I'm going to put this in here, and I'm going to bring the white bands through to the other side, on either side of our magic circle. So going through here, bringing it through, and then finding the other end of the white to bring through. So I have both ends of that white through, and I'm going to find the other end, and I'm going to do a slip knot with another band. Now I just thought it would be a little bit different to bring, let's bring this black band to the back first. Going from the center and hiding that band. Now I'm going to bring this white band through the center of the eye and have it sticking out just a little bit. Something a little bit different. And then you can just fix that up. That's sticking out a little bit too much, so I'm just going to bring it back. At the end of the day, however you do it, it's yours. Something a little bit different, and you can just kind of fold the magic ring and there's the eye. But I will be attaching my googly eye, my wiggly eye, so I'll be using that. So get your eye ready and attach it. I'm just going to stick this in there, grabbing both of the blacks ends and the opposite side. Bring it to the back, and I'm going to use another band to tie it closed. And there's the eye. Now to attach the goggles to the eyes to the strap, I'm going to do this at the back. Now if you are using the actual safety eyes, this is where you want to attach them, and then just push it through the magic ring. Excuse me. So now you want to find the bottom parts of your goggles, so wherever the bottom is, and this is how you're going to sew them on. I'm going to do 4 slip knots, 2 slip knots to each eye. So have it in the direction that you want. Now I am going to use one eye to cover the center of this slip knot, and I'm going to start on this side. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to go right here, and I'm going to do 2 slip knots on either side of the actual eye. So I'm going to catch a stitch, go through the stitch on the strap, and I'm going to grab a stitch on the actual eye. So I'm going to do one on this side and one on that side. So I'm going to go through the stitches, 2 of the little stitches on the goggle, and then go through another stitch on the actual strap. And bring a white band through, and then do a slip knot. Now I'm going to attach this on the other side, so I'm going to go through a chain on the strap. I think I went too high up. And I'm going to grab a chain on the eye. I might actually grab a couple of chains. and bring your hook through one of the other chains on the strap, the black, and bring a white band through. Do a slip knot. So it's up to you what you want to use, black bands or white bands, that's up to you. You're going to hide these anyways, so you can just go through like a chain on the googly eye, bring your slip knot through, and then just hide it. And then you can just play around with that. And the same thing with the other side. You can just bring it through. Before you do all that, make sure that the goggles are in a good spot before you do all that. So this is the bottom. I'm going to do the same thing with the other side, finding the bottom and having it in the same spot, just so those slits that I made on the eyes don't show. And I'm going to do the same thing. Go through a chain on the strap, grab a couple of the stitches, go through a chain on the strap, and bring a white band through all of those stitches and do a slip knot. Same thing, the end, go through a chain, grab a couple of the stitches, go through a chain on the strap, and do a slip knot. So they're right beside each other. Fix the eyes where your bottom, your top. Now I'm going to do 2 single crochets along the side, and I'm going to use white bands. So I'm just going to go right beside here like this, and I'm going to grab just a couple of the stitches here. You want to make sure that the eyes are beside each other, so just fix before you grab 2 stitches on the other side. You don't want to be here. You want to be the same. I'm going to grab two stitches on the other side. And I'm going to bring a band through all of those loops that are on my hook. Grab your end and slide. And we're going to do that one more time. So just a couple of stitches on one side, put it flat with the other, and grab 2 of the stitches. And you're going to bring a band through all of the stitches that are on your hook and do a slip knot. Both ends, and tie off. And just check, and it should look like this. And then you can just hide all these slip knots between all the stitches. Round 1, we're going to start off with 8 single crochets in the magic ring. So I'm going to use yellow in the bottom part of my loom, and I'm going to take my first band and wrap it around 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm going to pull 8 bands through one at a time. So reaching in, grabbing your first band to bring through and on your hook. You're bringing the top loop over and bringing it to the side. Go back in for your second band to bring through on your hook, and now bring the top 2 loops over. Bring it to the side. Go back in, your next loop to bring through, and you're just repeating by bringing the top 2 loops over. And continue. Making sure you're bringing your bands to the side so you have them nice and even. Now I just brought 8 bands through, and take your stitch marker and attach it to the band that's around your hook and remove off the loom. You should have 8 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 is on your hook. For round 2, we're going to increase on every stitch. So you're adding 2 bands to each chain, 2, 2, 2, 2, all the way around. You're just doing 2 single crochets in every stitch. At the end of round 2, you're going to have 16 stitches. So I'm using 16 bands. So going in your first chain, you're just bringing 2 bands through one at a time. So you're just going to crochet. Go back in that same chain to add your second band. Moving on to the next stitch, you're adding 2 bands one at a time. Back in, that same stitch to add your second, and that's your increase. The next stitch with 2. Back in, and you're going to continue until you get to your stitch marker. So I have 16 stitches now. You want to remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 3, this is the pattern. We're going to do 1 single crochet followed by an increase. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. You're going to repeat this pattern 8 times, and at the end of round 3, you're going to have 24 stitches. So you're just going in the first chain, not where it's getting pulled, and you're just adding 1 band. And your second chain, you're adding 2 bands, so this is your increase where you do it 1 at a time. Back in. And repeat, 1, 2. Next chain with 2. Very simple pattern. You're just going to repeat until you get to your stitch marker. So 1, 2. Back in. And repeat. Just continue until you get to the stitch marker. Just so you can see, I have 4 chains left, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I have 4 sections left. My last stitch will have my increase. You should have 24 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 4, we're going to do 2 single crochets followed by an increase. So 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. You're going to repeat this pattern 8 times. So every third stitch, you're adding 2 bands. At the end of round 4, you're going to have 32 stitches. So you want to go in your first chain, not where it's getting pulled, and add 1 band. So 1 single crochet. 1 single crochet in your second chain, and 2 single crochets inside your third chain. So this is your increase. Back in, and repeat 1, 1, 2. back in, and repeat 1, 1, 2. Continue the pattern until you get to the stitch marker. You should have 32 stitches and remove your stitch marker. For round 5, we're going to increase on every 8th stitch. So you're going to do 7 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, followed by an increase. So on your 8th stitch, you're adding 2 bands. And repeat, 7 single crochets followed by an increase. You're repeating this pattern 4 times. And at the end of round 5, you're going to have 36 stitches. So let's go on our first chain, or our first 7 chains with 1 band. Don't go where it's getting pulled, and bring 1 band through. You're just following the pattern. So I just did 7 single crochets. Now I'm going to add 2 bands in my 8th chain. Back in, that same chain. And repeat, 7 single crochets followed by an increase. The 8th, back in, and repeat. And you're going to repeat 1 more time until you get to the stitch marker. You should have 36 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band around your hook. For rounds 6 all the way to round 17, so round 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17, you're going to do 36 single crochets. So you're adding 1 band to each chain. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, all the way around. Each pile I have 36 bands. So at the end of each round, you should have 36 stitches. You're going to go in your first one. I'm going to do part of round 6 with you, and then you're going to pause the video and come back to me when you've completed all the rounds to round 17. So now you're going to go in your first chain, not where it's getting pulled, and you're just bringing 1 band through. So do a single crochet in each chain around. I will be leaving a stitch marker on each round, so in case I get distracted, most of you know that I leave my stitch markers on, and I can count my rounds by counting the stitch markers. So you can just keep on going. So basically, I leave my stitch marker on, and when I begin a new round, I'm going to add another stitch marker. So just very simple, just adding 1 band to each chain all the way around. So you're just going to continue until you get to the stitch marker. You want to pause the video and come back to me when you're done. For round 18, we're going to change to red, and we're going to do 36 single crochets. So I have 10, 10, and 10, that's 30, and 36, so I have 6 down here. 36 bands in total, so we're going to do 36 single crochets. At the end of round 18, you're going to have 36 stitches, but I am going to grab the inside loops only. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to add 1 band to each chain, 1, 1, 1, 1, all the way around. We're changing color, so I'm going to grab the inside loop only on my first chain, not where it's getting pulled. So don't go through the whole chain, just grab the first little loop that's facing the center. And your first band is, you're going to bring it through and do a slip stitch. So bring it through all of the loops that are on your hook and side. So not going to the next inside loop only, and just bring your band through all the way around, inside loops only. Just the one little loop on the yellow and just crochet. You want to try the least tension that you can when you're crocheting. The harder you pull these bands is the more opening gaps that you'll have. So try so hard not to stretch these bands as you're bringing it through. Like I have hardly any tension. It's really hard, but just keep going. So you want to remove your stitch marker now and add it to the band that's around your hook. You want to be careful you don't pull this band. So I kind of like support it at the body here with my finger and attach my stitch marker, because it's really easy just to pull that band because it's only grabbing the inside loop only. So it's very easy to have a gap there when we're done. Now for rounds 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24, you're just doing 36 single crochets. So adding one band to each chain, one, 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 all the way around. I'm going to do part of round 19 with you, and then you're going to pause the video and come back to me when you've completed the rest of the rounds. Now for round 24, just to make our life a little bit easier, I'm going to ask that you leave a stitch marker on. And if you don't, when I come back, I'll make sure that we add another one. So I am going to start round 19, and I'm going to go in my first chain, not where it's getting pulled and not my slip knot, your first chain. So this is your slip knot, and bring your first band through. And keep going to every stitch around. You just want to keep going until you get to your stitch marker. Pause the video and come back to me when you're done. Now we're at round 25, and this is what the body should look like. For round 25, before I begin, I ask that you leave a stitch marker on the stitch for the round 24. Now if you did take it off and add it to the band that's around your hook, I need you to add another stitch marker to the stitch that's getting pulled. We need this to be able to attach the skirt and where to go, just to make it a little bit easier. If you just have a rubber band around, just do a little slip knot so you know where to go. Now for round 25, we're going to start to decrease. And I'm going to do 7 single crochets, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, followed by an invisible decrease. So I'm adding an extra band. We're going to repeat this 4 times. So 7 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. So I'm going to go in my first 7 chains with 1 band in each. So not where the stitch marker is, the next chain over, so that's our chain, and do your single crochet. You want to repeat 6 more times. Now for our invisible decrease, you're going to take your 2 bands and do a slip stitch in each chain. So I'm going to go to my next chain, put my hook through and do a slip stitch and leave it on my hook. So grab the end and slide and leave it. And go to your next chain and just do the same thing. So a slip stitch. When you have 3 loops, then you want to slide. You just stitched 2 stitches together. So let's repeat our pattern, 7 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. So going to the next chain over, Now for my invisible decrease, a slip stitch in each of the next 2 chains. Three loops inside. Let's continue the pattern again. 7 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. Invisible decrease. And repeat one more time until you get to the stitch marker. I'm going to stitch the last 2 stitches together by doing an slip stitch, the next stitch, slip stitch. So that was my last stitch, 3 loops and slide. And remove your stitch marker. I'm leaving that one on, and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 26, we are going to do 2 single crochets followed by a decrease. So I'm going to do 2 single crochets and 3 and 4 together. 1, 1, 3 and 4 together. 1, 1, 3 and 4 together. I'm just going to repeat this 8 times, and at the end of round 26 you're going to have 24 stitches. So I'm not doing the invisible decrease, I'm going to stitch 3 and 4 together. When we're done, we're going to add some stuffing to fill the body. So I'm going to go on my first 2 chains and do a single crochet. So not where it's getting pulled. I'm going to go on my first chain and add my first band. Chain 2 with 1 band. Now I'm going to take 3 and 4, so this is chain 3, turn my hook to the center and grab chain 4 and stitch those 2 together. So bringing my band through both of those chains, slide the body to the center of that band, grab the band and slide. Let's repeat 2 single crochets. So going in the next chain over, there's 1, the next chain, 1 band, and now take 3 and 4 and stitch together. So going through chain 3, bringing my hook to the center, inside of the body, and grab chain 4 and stitch those 2 chains together. And repeat 2 single crochets followed by a decrease. Now stitch 3 and 4 together. And repeat. Just going to repeat the same pattern until you get to the stitch marker. So 2 single crochets and then your decrease. last two together. So again, you should have 24 stitches. Remove your stitch marker, add it to the band that's around your hook, and I'm just going to move my band up a little bit on the hook to secure it, and I'm going to add some stuffing to fill the body. Be really careful not to overstuff. I love to overstuff. You don't want the stuffing to show through the bands, especially the darker color of the red. I find that you really see the stuffing through, but at the end of the day, it's yours. So however you like to do it. You just want to make sure that this is nice and flat. So I'm just separating the stuffing around. I'm just giving it a roll so it's nice and even, and that should be enough. You could always remove after by using your hook, pulling it out, and then just taking a pencil and just pushing where you pulled out back in if any stuffing sticking out. For round 27, we're going to decrease, and I'm going to do 1 single crochet followed by a decrease. So I'll be stitching 2 and 3 together. 1 single crochet, 2 and 3 together. So to show you on the body, 1 single crochet and 2 and 3 together. 1 single crochet, 2 and 3 together. You're going to repeat this pattern 8 times. At the end of round 27, you're going to have 16 stitches. So I'm going to go on my first chain, not where it's getting pulled, and just bring one band through. So that's 1 single crochet. Now you're going to take 2 and 3 and stitch together. You want to be really careful that you're not going to grab onto any of the stuffing, so just push it down. And repeat 1 single crochet and 2 and 3 together. You're just continuing the pattern until you get to the stitch marker. You might be able to tell if you have overstuffed it, if the gaps are going to be too much. Now stitching the last 2 stitches together. You should have 16 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. Now for round 28, we're going to stitch 1 and 2 together. So every stitch you're stitching together. So 1 and 2 together, 1 and 2 together, 1 and 2 together. You're going to repeat this 8 times. At the end of round 28, you're going to have 8 stitches. So I'm doing 8 decreases. So I'm going to go in my first chain and grab chain 2. So 1 and 2 together. Bring your band through both chains, slide the body to the center, and go to the next, 1 and 2, and stitch together. Just continue until you get to the stitch marker. I'm so close, so done. I really need to go eat something. My stomach's growling. I do apologize. All right, and it continues. The last two together. Again, you should have 8 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and attach it to the band that's around your hook. Now before I start round 29, I want to add a little bit of stuffing to this area right here. So you want to see if you need to add a little bit more. We want it flat here, but I also, if I'm pushing it up, I have some room here just to add a little bit more. So I'm just going to, in the hole, use a pencil and just add a little bit more. And push it to the side where I want it at. Now I love to keep stuffing, but just be careful. We're going to do 4 decreases. So I'm just going to get this back on my hook. And I'm going to stitch 1 and 2 together, and my last band I'm going to do a slip knot to tie it closed. So I'm going to grab 1 and 2. So I'm doing this 4 times till we have it closed off. So stitching 1 and 2 together. There's 1. My next 2 together. Again, 1 and 2. And the last 2. So you can remove your stitch marker. It might be a little bit easier. And take your last band and bring it through all of the loops that are on your hook and do a slip knot to tie it closed. And move your stuffing around. And if you do have any of these gaps, what you want to do is just take your little knots and move the bands, like release some of the tension. So you're just looking for the little knots at the bottom and just release. Now this is going in the inside, the bottom of her, so you're really not going to see. I'm just going to relieve some of the tension because I stitched the 2 together. So of course we're going to have some tension. So I'm just going to go around, and then you can kind of do that. This doesn't make much of a difference. And we're going to move some stuffing to the top. So this is what you should have.